Adam, you mentioned that one tree. Now, I know we're keeping it light here, but come on. Everyone's wondering, what was the deal with it? Out of all the trees, why was that one so different?
Because it wasn't ours to touch, Joe. Every tree, every fruit, every river was for us, except that one. God made it clear that tree was set apart.
So paradise had one off-limits sign, one tree you couldn't touch? That must have stood out like a do not press this button situation.
You could say that. The more you walked past it, the more you noticed it. Not because we lacked anything, we didn't. But when something's forbidden, it tends to stay in your mind, doesn't it?
Eve? He glances at her, his tone cautioning but still calm.
All right. We'll save the deep dive for later. But I think my audience already feels it. Even in paradise, one tree made things complicated. So, let's talk about it directly. What made that tree so tempting? You had everything else, abundance everywhere. Why did that one stand out?
It wasn't tempting to me, Joe, not at first. God's word was clear, like do not eat from it. That was enough. I didn't need a reason, I didn't need to question. Obedience was life.
But it wasn't invisible, Joe. Every time we passed it, I noticed the fruit. It wasn't dull or hidden. It was beautiful, different, almost glowing. I never thought we lacked anything, but the thought lingered. Why not that one?
So you started wondering, not because you were hungry, but because it was forbidden.
Yes, it wasn't need, it was curiosity. And the more I wondered, the louder the question grew.
Eve, we had all we needed. There was no reason to even glance at it. God's word should have been enough.
And yet, Adam, you know the truth. It was there, always there.
So even in paradise, one tree planted a seed of doubt, and that seed began to grow. Eve, Adam, let's go to the heart of it. The serpent. The moment everything shifted. Tell me, how did it begin?
I was walking alone near the tree. The garden was still. But then a voice came. Not thunderous, not harsh, but subtle. The serpent was there and it spoke. Not like the others. Not with sounds, but with words. Clear words.
And what did it say?
It questioned, did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? It twisted what was given to us, planting doubt where there had been none. It sounded reasonable, curious, almost like a friend asking an innocent question.
A friend? Number it was a deceiver from the beginning. I told you, Eve, but we had no need to linger there.
I wasn't seeking it, Adam. It sought me. It drew near when I was alone.
So the serpent didn't roar, didn't threaten, it questioned. It planted the first seed of doubt.
Yes, and once it spoke, the tree no longer looked the same.
Eve, you said the serpent made the tree look different after it spoke. What exactly did it say to you?
It said, "You will not surely die." Those words struck me. Everything we knew was built on God's command, yet here was a voice saying the opposite. Then it went further. For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil.
So it didn't tempt you with hunger. It tempted you with knowledge, with the idea of becoming more.
Yes, it wasn't about fruit, Joe. It was about the promise. The thought that I could see what was hidden, understand what was beyond us. The tree became more than food. It became a doorway.
A doorway to ruin. You should have turned away, Eve. God's word was enough. No promise, no question, no serpent could outweigh his command.
And yet, in that moment, Adam, the serpent's words felt like truth.
So one question, one promise, changed the way you saw everything. The garden, the tree, even God. Eve, take us there. That moment, you heard the serpent, you looked at the tree. What happened next?
I reached out. My hand touched the fruit. It was smooth, bright, beautiful, like it had been waiting for me. The serpent's words echoed in my mind, "You will be like God." And in that moment, I believed, not in hunger, not in need, but in the promise of more.
You believed a lie, Eve. God gave us everything. We lacked nothing, and still, you listened.
Adam, don't act as though I was the only one. I reached, yes, but you stood with me. You could have turned me away. You could have spoken. You could have stopped me.
Hold on. Let's stay in that moment. Eve, you touched it. Did you hesitate? Did you think of stopping?
For a breath, yes. But then the doubt was stronger than the fear, and I took it into my hand.
More? It was disobedience. It was the breaking of trust. That bite tore apart the very harmony we lived in. You chose it, Eve. You let a lie outweigh his word.
And yet, Adam, in that moment, I didn't feel death. I felt life. I felt awakened. It wasn't terror that came first. It was power.
So the serpent wasn't lying about the feeling, but the cost wasn't clear yet.
Yes, the cost was hidden. The sweetness came first, the bitterness followed later.
And we've been paying it ever since.
Eve, you ate. But the story doesn't stop there. You turned. And Adam, you took it too. How did that happen?
I looked at him. The fruit, still in my hand, its taste still on my lips. I said nothing, Joe. I only held it out. And in my eyes, I think he saw what I felt. That awakening, that rush. I didn't force him. I offered.
And I saw it. I saw the fruit in her hand, the change in her eyes. I should have turned away. I should have spoken truth, but instead, I reached, I chose, and I ate.
So, Adam, no serpent, no persuasion? Just her hand and your choice?
Yes, no serpent needed, only weakness like mine. I chose her hand over his command.
And in that moment, we were bound together in it. I did not want to fall alone.
So the first act of unity between man and woman was also the first act of disobedience. So you both ate. Tell me, what happened in that moment after the bite?
At first, nothing but silence. The garden, once alive with song, felt still, too still. And then it came, the weight. My eyes saw differently. I looked at myself, at Adam, and suddenly we were exposed, naked, vulnerable. What once felt pure now felt shameful.
It was as if a veil was torn away, but instead of light, there was shadow. The joy of innocence was gone. I felt seen, not by love, but by judgment. For the first time, I wanted to hide.
So it wasn't sweetness anymore. It was fear.
Yes, fear and shame. We sewed fig leaves together, trying to cover what we had never hidden before. Even from each other, we wanted to hide.
And worst of all, we knew he would come, and we could not stand before him as we were.
So the fruit opened your eyes, but not to freedom, to shame. So you felt fear, you felt shame, and then came the moment you knew he was near. Walk us through it. What happened when God came into the garden?
The sound? Joe, the sound was the same as always. The rustling of the trees, the steps of his presence moving in the cool of the day. I had heard it countless times before, and each time it filled me with joy. But that day, the sound turned my blood cold. The same footsteps that once brought peace now struck me with terror. My heart pounded, my body trembled, and instead of running toward him, I ran away. I hid. For the first time in creation, man hid from his maker.
You hid from the very one who gave you life.
Yes, and as I crouched behind the trees, trying to cover myself with leaves, I realized what I had done. The garden that once felt like home now felt like a prison. His nearness became unbearable because my disobedience stood between us.
And I hid too, Joe. The same voice that once felt like love now exposed me. His presence lit every shadow in me, and I wanted to shrink away. I thought covering myself with leaves would hide the shame. But his gaze saw through it all. I wasn't just hiding my body, I was hiding my soul. For the first time, I felt unworthy.
Eve, did you think he would find you? Or did you believe the hiding would work?
In my heart, I knew he would find me. There was no place in Eden beyond his reach. But still, I tried. Because facing him meant facing the truth of what I had done. And I wasn't ready.
And when he called out, "Where are you?" It wasn't a question for his sake. He knew. It was for mine. It was a mirror showing me what I had become. A man in hiding. A man who had traded obedience for rebellion.
So the footsteps of God, once comfort, became judgment, and the garden, once home, became a place of fear. So the voice of God came, "Where are you?" Tell me, Adam, what did you say?
I answered, but my words were broken. I said, "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked. So I hid." Imagine that, Joe. The first man, made in his image, once walking in confidence, now trembling like a thief. My voice cracked with shame. I could barely look up. The same mouth that named the animals now confessed fear and failure.
And what did he say back?
He asked me, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" His voice cut deeper than any blade, Joe. Not because he didn't know, but because he wanted me to see the truth of what I had done.
And I heard it too. Each word pierced me. I knew it wasn't just Adam being called out, it was me as well. My heart pounded, and every beat said, "You have fallen, you have betrayed." The garden, once filled with beauty, now felt like it was collapsing around me.
So in that moment, it wasn't just fear, it was exposure. Truth that couldn't be hidden.
Yes, the leaves, the hiding, the excuses. None of it mattered. His voice stripped it all away. For the first time, I stood before him guilty, and I had no defense.
Adam, the moment was here. God asked you directly, "Had you eaten from the tree?" How did you respond?
I looked at him, and I couldn't bear the weight. My guilt pressed on me like stone, and my pride clawed for escape. So I said it, words I wish I could erase. "The woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it." In those words, I shifted the weight from my shoulders to hers. I blamed the very gift I was given.
You blamed her? You blamed Eve.
Yes, and worse, Joe, I blamed him. The woman you put here with me. My words carried accusation, not just against Eve, but against the one who formed her. I was naked, ashamed, cornered, and instead of confession, I chose blame.
And I felt it cut through me. The man who once called me bone of his bone, flesh of his flesh, now pointed to me as the reason for his fall. His words were not just an excuse to God, they were a wound to me. In that moment, I felt abandoned, cast aside. He chose his pride over our unity.
Eve, what was that like? To hear Adam blame you before God himself.
It was betrayal layered on betrayal. I already carried the weight of my choice. But now the finger of blame was pointed at me, as if I alone bore the curse. I wanted to speak, to defend myself, but my heart sank. For the first time, the bond between us cracked.
So in a single sentence, Adam broke the unity of man and woman, turning what was once love into blame. Fear birthed shame, and shame birthed division. Eve, after Adam spoke, God turned to you. What did you say in that moment?
My voice shook, Joe. I felt the weight of his gaze, and I could not bear it. I said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." It was all I could manage. Not a defense, not a denial, just the truth of my weakness. The serpent had twisted words into chains, and I had let myself be bound.
So in that moment, you passed the blame too, from yourself to the serpent.
Yes, because I couldn't carry it alone. My shame was already crushing me. Naming the serpent was the only way I could breathe. But even as I spoke, I knew the choice had still been mine. The serpent whispered, but I reached, I believed, I ate.
And yet, Eve, you led me into it. You handed me what you should have refused yourself. Don't pretend it was only the serpent's fault.
And you, Adam, you listened. You could have turned away. You could have stood firm, but you chose silence, and then you chose my hand over his word. Don't place the weight only on me.
Enough. Hear this. In the garden, blame became the first language of brokenness. Adam to Eve, Eve to the serpent, each pointing outward instead of inward. And that blame was the beginning of division.
Yes, the unity we had was gone, replaced by a wall of guilt and accusation.
And we could never go back to what we were before.
So after the blame was cast, Adam pointing to Eve, Eve pointing to the serpent, God spoke. And he began with the serpent. Tell us, what did he say?
His words struck like thunder. He said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock and all wild animals. You will crawl on your belly, and you will eat dust all the days of your life." In that moment, Joe, the serpent, once cunning and elevated, became low, humiliated. Its beauty turned to disgrace.
And God did not stop there. He declared war between the serpent and the woman, between its offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel. It was more than a curse, it was prophecy, a promise that one day the serpent's deceit would be destroyed.
So the serpent was cursed, but also exposed, its role revealed for what it was, a deceiver, an enemy, doomed to crawl and to be crushed in the end.
Yes, in that judgment, I felt both fear and hope. Fear, because I realized the depth of the serpent's hatred. It would not stop striking at humanity. But hope, because God promised that the battle would not last forever. One day, a son of mankind would crush the serpent's head. Even in judgment, there was mercy. Even in wrath, there was a promise.
And yet, Joe, the promise of victory did not erase the reality of loss. The serpent's curse was only the beginning. We knew his gaze would turn next. To us.
So the deceiver was judged, cursed to the dust. But Adam, Eve, you were still standing there, waiting to hear what judgment would fall on you. Eve, the serpent was cursed first, but then God's gaze turned to you. What did he say?
His words pierced me, Joe. He said, "I will greatly increase your pains in childbearing. With pain you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you." It was more than punishment. It was a reshaping of my very being. Joy was now tied to pain. Unity was now bound to struggle. What was meant to be pure harmony would carry thorns of sorrow. And I knew every woman after me would bear the same weight.
So your greatest blessing, bringing life, became your greatest burden.
Yes, creation would still pass through me, but not without anguish. What was meant to be effortless would now be marked with pain. And even in love, in my bond with Adam, there would no longer be perfect equality. My desire for him would remain, but he would rule over me. The balance we once shared was fractured.
And hearing those words, I felt the break as well. The companion who had been my equal, now bound under my headship by judgment. It was not victory, Joe. It was loss, for her, for me, for us both.
And yet, I bore it, because I knew I had opened the door. I had listened when I should have turned away. And the curse was the price.
So for Eve, blessing and burden became intertwined. The joy of motherhood chained to pain, the longing for love bound to struggle. The ripple of that judgment has echoed through every generation since.
Adam, after God spoke to Eve, his gaze turned to you. What did he say?
His words still echo in me, Joe. He said, "Because you listened to your wife and ate from the tree about which I commanded you. You must not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil you will eat of it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you will return." Adam pauses, his voice breaking slightly. "Do you understand? The earth itself, which once yielded freely at my touch, now turned against me. My hands, which once worked with joy, would now bleed with labor. Food, once gift, became struggle. and worst of all, his final words. For dust you are, and to dust you will return. Death. For the first time I knew the shadow of death would fall on me, and on every son after me.
So your blessing, dominion over the earth, became your burden. The ground itself resisted you.
Yes. Every thorn would mock me. Every bead of sweat would remind me of my failure. What was once a paradise of abundance became a field of toil. And I, who had been formed from dust, was now destined to return to it.
And I felt his burden as my own. His struggle became mine. The weight was not his alone, but ours together.
So in judgment, man and woman alike were bound to struggle, her with pain in life, him with pain in labor, and both together destined for dust. So judgment had fallen, pain, toil, and death. But then something happened, something merciful. God clothed you. Tell us what that moment was like.
Joe, when he clothed us, I wept. We had sewn fig leaves together, desperate to cover our shame, but they were fragile, pathetic things. We tore at them nervously, hiding ourselves from his gaze, but he gave us garments of skin, strong, lasting. He covered us in the very moment our sin had uncovered us. It was judgment, yes, but also mercy. For though he cast us out, he did not leave us naked.
I felt the same, Joe. My hands trembled as I pulled the garment over my shoulders. It was weighty, warm, and it carried a cost. Something had died so we could be covered. For the first time, blood was shed in the garden. Innocence was lost not only in us, but in creation itself. And in that sacrifice, I saw a shadow, a whisper of redemption that would come one day. But in that moment, it was grief mingled with grace.
So even in judgment, there was mercy. Even in wrath, there was covering. You were not left exposed in your shame.
Yes, his love still reached us, even as we walked into exile.
Covered, but not restored. Protected, but still cast out.
In garments of skin, they carried both their shame and their hope. The first sacrifice, the first glimpse of redemption, hidden even in the sorrow.